Welcome to the super fun game review podcast. Go Mega Ultra Between Review Show. Down. Welcome to MUBRS.
MUBRS.
Welcome to MUBRS.
Here we go.
Hello.
Once again.
All right, guys. So tonight,
There's only Mother Russia tonight.
speaking of Russia,
Oh, jeez. Let's talk about the election.
no, I was just gonna talk about villains. We're gonna get hacked. All right, so
Ivan Drago.
what I wanted to do tonight was essentially pose a question: what makes a good villain, and also what is your most hated villain in a game?
That's a good question.
That's a good one.
That's a stump. You're going to have to give me a few minutes to think.
Well,
That's fine.
I'll at least go with...
Is anyone like ready and could just go?
What makes a good villain? Number one, I think there has to be the storyline from beginning. There has to be protagonist and antagonist.
Oh, stop it.
What?
We should say, yeah, okay, so we had a discussion about this.
No, but
We just want to use our terms correctly.
yeah, it's like there has to be like a good and a bad from the beginning.
What about the ugly? There's ugly, too.
There's ugly all throughout games. It's just a matter of how they actually do it.
So it's 9 years, eh? 9 years.
It could be. It could be. 999.
I'm trying to quote The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it's just not working.
No, you're failing. Oh,
I'm not
there's
failing. You
there's
guys
a
just haven't seen it, I am assuming.
nickname, Failing Ralph. Just
Huh?
like failing.
Now wait,
CNN.
hold on, stop. Before we do anything else, who here has not seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
I saw it when I was a kid.
Harry?
I haven't seen it.
I love
It's
Ecstasy of
probably been
Gold.
like a
That's
good,
like
like,
an
20
amazing
years.
song.
Then watch the movie, man. The whole movie has a soundtrack like that.
Ennio Morricone.
Ennio Morricone.
Anyway,
The Metallica remix is like amazing too.
I've heard
it's
that.
so good. Oh,
Ecstasy of Gold. That was like our jam at Gators.
put it in at the end of the episode.
Oh!
It's gonna be great.
So, villains.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. What makes a good villain?
It has to be established in the beginning of a game, and then throughout, they still have to. Honestly, I think like a good villain, or at least like antagonist, is what I'm going to say for Final Fantasy VIII. You have Squall. You have Cypher. Cypher. He just pops in.
You chicken
And-
wuss.
Yeah. Not chicken wuss. Oh, Zell, you overeager bastard. But he pops in like so often, like he has to like make himself known throughout the game. It can't just be one encounter and then you wait until the end of the game and there he is again. Like
Rival douchebag.
he he has to be prominent like throughout the game, or at least like
Wait, hold
make
on.
a couple. Go ahead.
So, are you telling me that in terms of villains and Final Fantasy, you go to Cypher, you don't go Sephiroth, you don't go Kefka, you don't go
No,
Seymour?
Well, I think more because I like the way that it was actually done in 8, because you're Squall, you are the quote unquote hero, even though he's like a emo teen,
Protagonist.
basically. Yeah, protagonist. And then there's Cypher, which he just pops in and he's just there to kind of like poke at you a little more. Hey, let's poke a little bit more.
So you hate him?
I
You
did.
think he's a good villain?
He is a good villain.
Okay.
So that's like yours is like Cypher.
Yeah, I think that's really like what I look at, where when you have the clash between good and bad and actually building the story a little bit, that is my go-to.
So my most hated is Scott Shelby.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna
Scott
I'm gonna-
Shelby?
yes. So actually, almost to the counterpoint of what you were saying, Steve, is he is essentially a good guy that you don't know is a bad guy until the end. But what they do and it really makes you hate him is there's all these despicable things that are happening to this masked person. You know, like this masked person is doing all of these terrible, terrible things. And they build this character of like hate and violence and like awful, awful deeds. And then it turns out right around the end of the game, you find out, oh, I've been playing as him and covering up for himself and doing all of these like things to help him not get caught, completely inconspicuous to the player itself. And I think that made him my most memorable villain, just because
You are him.
yeah, all of a sudden, I played the villain for half the game, or, you know, like a quarter of the game. And not only that, but in my playthrough, I fucked up a button press. So not only was he the villain, he also ended up killing the FBI agent in my playthrough. So, like, it really just made it crazy. And I just really thought that that profiled a villain to me. And it was like really just based in real world events. Like that whole thing could have taken place. It wasn't anything too fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'll chalk that up to like actual good gameplay and development, because like to go through and to not realize that you're thinking that like any game when you start out, it's like, oh, I'm the good guy. And then once you start getting into it, it's like, oh, I'm a dick.
Yeah, I haven't played
Shit,
Heavy Rain.
they did like
Oh,
really
really?
good job.
So I gotta say, I don't have a specific example, but I think I know what makes a good villain, and I feel like there's two different routes you can go. You can be, I guess the first route I would say is like the relatable, kind of what you were saying, Ralph. You kind of empathize with them, and they have like this tragic story that it makes them become like a true character, not just like a face, but like somebody you can.
A mustache twirling bad because evil. He's
What?
bad. A mustache twirler who's just the bad guy because
Yeah, exactly.
he is
Just
the bad guy.
because they made him the bad guy.
Right.
Like this is somebody with like a backstory that like you actually feel bad for on some level, and it's just like a tragic story, and it makes them a good villain because they're a rich character.
Like the Joker.
So the other route I was gonna go, and I do have a very specific example for this, just not a video game example. So the character you love to hate, and it's funny because I saw a meme recently. It was talking about Harry Potter, and it was like, there's all these bad guys in the movie that you really love as characters, and it shows like Snape and Voldemort and Bellatrix,
Yeah.
and like all these characters. So it was like, what did the meme say? It was there's all these villains in this movie that you love to hate, and then there's this bitch, and it was talking about the one lady dressed in pink who came to the school. Yes,
Umbridge.
Professor Umbridge, and just like that was a character that got under your skin as a viewer because she
Yeah.
was just like
Annoying.
over the top, fucking annoying. You want to see harm to that character. I feel like that's the complete opposite path of a villain, but it's another way to make a good villain, somebody you really fucking hate. Yeah, I thought she was like the perfect example for something like that.
For sure. What about you, Ralph?
I got to admit, I'm struggling with this. There are so many, I want to say, well done villains, and so many that everybody knows about, and that we've mentioned here. Just now, I was thinking actually about how much I appreciate GLaDOS as a villain, even though we talked about that plenty in the Portal episode, and she's almost like a villain you don't love to hate. Like, she's just like fun to like hear what she's gonna say next.
I
guess.
love GLaDOS. Like,
Yeah.
GLaDOS is fantastic. I don't hate her, though.
Right. And when you pose the question, like, my mind is like, okay, what's an enemy that like I can't fucking stand? That's just like really annoying, gets under my skin, and I just want to either run away and leave them alone, or I want to like destroy everyone that I see. And I was thinking about the N64 Zelda games, and I was trying to think of like what's an enemy that I just like can't stand, and it
Tingle.
makes me think of like Reed. Dance.
Tingle.
Tingle's
Yeah,
not
he,
that
he
bad.
is the villain.
Tingle's not that
of that
bad.
game.
He's definitely the antagonist.
Ugh,
Yuck.
Tingle's father, the true villain. I'm just kidding.
I don't miss that game.
Balloon motherfucker.
I had a bad time with that one.
Yours?
Yeah, I wanted to love that game.
I did love that game.
Can I do a quick side note?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. Well, Harry says no. I say yes. So
It's. I
that
mean,
means
you guys.
yes.
You guys can call
just,
time.
Just go.
So
I thought I said no.
Speaking of majoras, you know how in majoras everyone.
Oh
has
wait,
like a
is it going to
set-
be about Zelda?
No.
Is it about Link?
Everyone has a set path.
Yeah.
Like at a certain time, they're
Who?
here.
In what?
NPCs in
In
Majora's
Oh,
Mask.
okay, so it is about Zelda.
I didn't say
All right, yeah.
Zelda.
So just get back to the villains.
Well, what I wanted to say was that it's
My
confirmed.
least favorite's
Hold on.
Ganondorf.
Yeah, nah. No.
He's a face.
Bowser is the greatest villain of all time. No. In Red Dead Redemption 2, it's confirmed that NPCs will have a schedule, and it made me think of Majora's. This is one of those little like gameplay elements that's unique to Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't know how like true that statement is, because I'm sure in a lot of games people have like a path that they follow, or NPCs have a
Yeah, of
path
course.
that they follow, obviously, but like a set schedule, like on Tuesday at 12 o'clock everyone's going to meet at the town square, that kind of thing. There's my side note, and
Well,
it
there's
had to do
been-
with Zelda.
There's been several games that have like kind of followed that path where like there's at this time, this date.
Yeah,
like,
it's really
if it
not
goes
that
over a
unique.
few.
You're right. It's not that unique, but
It's nice to see that done again.
So do you have a favorite villain?
I
then,
was
or-
I was hovering around Voss. I feel like I need to talk about Voss real quick. So like Fallout, Far Cry 3.
Bad start.
Close.
Yeah, I keep doing that.
It
Far
starts with
Cry
an F.
3. When I think about that game, like the performance of the actor and the writing and everything with Voss stands out to me. Like the
Yeah.
gameplay doesn't really stand out that much. The other things like, and I actually feel it's an example of where
The
they had a
gameplay
great.
doesn't stand out to you in Far Cry 3? I thought it was great.
Well, I guess because what I mean is that it is good, but to me, like the big thing I think about with that game is Voss still. And funnily enough, I saw that actor. He has a really small role in Spider-Man: Homecoming at the end. So hopefully his career's like gonna become a little bit more, because he did Voss and then he did this, and I was like, okay, that's all I've seen this guy in. But that's an example where it's a villain that you love to hate, but then like 2/3 through the game, he's gone. And it's one of those deals where he was the henchman and like the real bad comes in, or the real villain, for lack of a better word, comes in, and I felt it was a diminishment. Like it took something away from the game when he disappeared. But again, that's not like a gameplay thing. That's just solely story and like motion capture and performance. Like I hover around Voss.
Right, but did you hate him?
No. I know you're asking me for
A villain that you hated, not one that you
Yeah.
thought was a good villain. There's a difference. I mean, there's
No, I
tons
gotcha.
of good villains like the Joker, and, like
the entire family in the Duck Dynasty game.
good.
There
That's
you go.
no, they're
No,
they're
that-
great. They're great villains.
That
I hated all
Uncle
of them.
I got a beard booger.
Hey, you
Fuck
know
you.
you know who the real villain of Duck Dynasty is?
Activision?
Bob.
Love you, Bob, but you're still kind of a dick.
Should we plug something? I think we
Your
should get into
mom-
better.
Your butt. So much duty.
All right, guys. We're all so fuck. Come on.
You got this.
Come on, Clark,
I
use your
believe in
brain,
you.
use your
All
brain.
right, yeah, just cut it. It's fine. I'll just
No,
not
no,
plug
no.
anything.
No,
That's
come on.
fine too.
Outro.
Annette Birkin is a villain. I just think is stupid.
I agree.